In this episode of the Game Informer Show, we're going to be talking about a spooky puzzle game getting a lot of positive buzz right now, the Seance of Blake Manor.
That it's not just important that you do something, it's important when you do something, and that certain openings can occur when people are off doing things. So I had to start noting that, I want to talk to this person, but they're only going to be available to talk to between these hours.
Plus, it's Halloween, so we're getting into the spirit by talking about some of our favorite horror games ever. Hello, welcome to this spooky episode of the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us each and every Friday for discussion of the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals with Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. Normally, I would be your host, Marcus Stewart, but on this All Hallows Eve, I have transformed into Massacre Stewart. Oh, spooky. Ooh. And of course, as you can see, normally Kyle Hilliard would be here, but not today because we've got Kill Hilliard.
Good.
Killiard, you may
Yes.
say.
Killiard.
Yeah. And if we to round out our spooky trio, we've got the one and only Eviscerate Van Allen.
I would have gone Van Helsing. That's where people normally go with that name. I don't know if Van Helsing's like spooky though. He's the guy that takes down the spooky folks, you know? He's like a vampire hunter, right?
Well, he lives in a spooky world.
Yeah,
I
he's like
guess.
he's gothic, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it means you have to be the villain. And who knows? He's probably mean to people. He's probably the villain to other people. You know, he's probably rude to somebody at some point.
As we all know, he's the villain in Hotel Transylvania 3, voiced by Jim Gaffigan. We've all seen it. We all love it.
I don't
Is it
know
bad
which
that I've
part of
never
that was
seen
more
those?
shocking.
Is it bad that I've never seen those movies? Am I missing out, Kyle? Or are those like big deals?
Actually, genuinely, Marcus, I think you would honestly like those movies because you're like a Cartoon Network kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is this is embarrassing. I mean, it's not embarrassing, but I can't remember the director's name off the top of my head. What the heck is his name? This is so stupid. But I gotta look it up.
It's okay. This is all tangentially related to Halloween.
It's Jandy Tartakovsky. Directed all of the first 3 Hotel Transylvania movies.
Powerpuff Girls, Dexter.
Yep. And that style is in there. Like, it has a really cool, like, the animation Hotel Transylvania, the first 3 at least, are good and interesting and unique. And so, genuinely, as like a fan of Jandy Tartakovsky, Marcus, as I'm assuming you are, you would like those movies. I truly, you would like those movies. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, man. Nice. Gotta add this to my Halloween watch list along with Sinners and Weapons and that new Conjuring movie.
That'd be right in between Sinners, Hotel Transylvania 1.
Perfect vibe
then
fit.
Weapons,
Yeah.
Hotel Transylvania 2.
Figured it out. Hell of a Halloween here. As
I've
you're watching
often
this,
said this.
if you're watching the video version, you can see we are in our Halloween best and brightest. Kyle, do you want to explain your outfit at all, or or is this even an outfit? Is this just
I'm Launch.
what you woke up and
from Dragon Ball. Go check out the video version if you're listening. I'm the famous character who sort of disappeared once Dragon Ball Z started. I think she's in like one episode. She's like at Tien's house, and then she's just kind of like, all right, I'm not in the show anymore. I think maybe she was in Battle of Gods. I think she was at the party, maybe.
Was she? Okay.
Maybe.
Is it weird to
I'd have
think
to
that
look
she?
it up.
Is it weird to think that she technically died when Boo blew up Earth? Like Launch was killed at a certain point.
She was. Poor Launch. Yeah. But she came back, so it's cool.
That's true. Yeah, she did. She did.
But yeah, Launch.
Yes.
I'm blue-haired Launch. Blue-haired version. Check out the video version.
Yeah, nice Launch. I'm a Ghostbuster. My name tag says Venkman, specifically Peter Venkman, Bill Murray, the best Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
I got a proton pack right here, so I'm ready to go.
Oh, whoa.
In case
Oh
we
my
need to
gosh.
go. If you guys see any ghosts, I'm all set here. We can do it. I don't have the ghost trap. I had to really stop myself from buying the ghost trap and the PKE meter at the store because that would have been more money than I would have felt comfortable spending, but I came very close just because childhood. I've never been a Ghostbusters for Halloween, and it was always one of my childhood fantasies was to have the proton pack and the whole, like everything basically.
Yeah.
So
and the one you just showed us looks pretty legit.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It better be for how much it costs. It does turn on and light up, but I don't have batteries in it right now, unfortunately. So you just
okay.
have to use your imagination. You know the sounds it makes.
Of course,
right?
of course.
Oh, the famous sounds. And apparently Christmas has come early because Eric is our own resident Santa Claus. I like to think you're off-season Santa. Like you're not ready yet. You're kind of like chilling at home.
Yeah,
Santa.
yeah. I'm Santa gearing up for the season. So folks at home may know that I moved recently from Austin up here to Minneapolis. So I'm still largely in boxes up here. So getting a costume together was not super on my timetable. So for the actual Halloween party that I will be attending, I'm going to wrap myself in boxes and wrapping paper and stuff like that. The joke will be that I have just moved here. That is my costume. But I didn't want to do that for the pod because it would have taken like way too long, and then I would have had to undo all the packing tape and stuff that's going to take to do that. So instead I found this Santa hat that says peace, love, and wine on it. It is my wine Santa. I love that's what I've opted for.
I love that you just moved, so you're unpacking. You got to prioritize, what do I need right away? And I like that made the cut.
Wine Santa hat has got to come out. Yeah. I
Computer,
still have,
TV, Santa hat, consoles, clothes, I guess.
I still have all my retro games like in boxes, just completely packed up, taped and everything. But no, Wine Santa hat came out. Of course. That was important.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah, it's just your personality. Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Before we jump into what will be a great Halloween-themed episode of the show, we're going to be talking about the Seance of Blake Manor, a brand new and very spooky puzzle game that Eric and I have been playing and enjoying and are excited to dive into here. And then we're going to spend the bulk of the show just talking about our favorite horror games. Because again, it's the spooky time of year. This is the best time of year to play some games that scare the pants off of you. So we're going to be going around the horn talking about what horror games scared us the most. Which ones do we think maybe the best horror games of all time? Who knows? But it should be a fun discussion. I'm a big horror guy, so I'm excited to hear what you guys think about the horror genre and what your favorite picks are. But before we dive into that, of course, if you would like to support Game Informer, you can go and get yourself a magazine subscription. Right now, we recently announced our next cover will be Dragon Quest VII Reimagine with a gorgeous, cool cover that I'm really excited about. You can go to GameInformer.com/subscribe, sign up for 10 issues a year, both physical and digital versions. You can also get a digital-only version for a reduced price. But it is a great way to support Game Informer, help us keep the lights on, and you'll get the best in video game reviews, previews, and features sent directly to your door 10 times a year. It's the best.
Also, crazy first time Dragon Quest has been on the cover of Game Informer. We've been around since '91, and this is 7 Reimagined is the first time Dragon Quest is on the cover, which is cool. I was happy that we finally got a Dragon Quest cover on there.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. You have mild brand synergy just because you're a Toriyama character.
That's right.
Oh, I thought you were going to say with dragons. That makes way more sense. You're a Toriyama.
I mean, both things are true. It turns out. So
that's right.
But yes, let's get into it. The Seance of Blake Manor, a game that I would wager until maybe last week, neither of us in this call were aware of either maybe at all. And then we started seeing some scuttlebutt online of people being really excited about it. We saw like Jason Schreier was tweeting saying like, hey, this game's incredible. It's going to be in my top 10, might be GOTY material. You guys need to check this out. I saw Daniel Dwyer post a no clip talking about it. He did a whole video highlighting how cool this game is. And Eric, you and I have been playing a few hours of it. Kyle, have you started it yet at all?
No, I haven't. I haven't really dug into it. I'm kind of looking at trailers and stuff while you guys tell me more about it. Yeah,
the premise is that it's a new sort of like, what do we call these games now? Like investigation puzzle games?
Solve 'em ups.
Solve 'em ups. That's good.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, in the vein of something like a Root Trees Are Dead or like an Obra Dinn, a Case of the Golden Idol. It's like in that sort of family of puzzle games. Detective games, maybe you could even say a little bit.
Yeah, mystery games. And I think they share a lot of commonality with games that go way back. You go to things like Myst and stuff like that. I think you're going to find a lot of through lines there. I would say this is more of an Oberdin, but the thing I'm liking about it is that it's not as reliant on you making every single connection. There are a lot of like signposts and guides that help with a lot of the deduction to help get you there, to the point that I think Oberdin for a lot of people was bounced him off a little bit with how tough it could be at times. And this one feels a lot more manageable, but not any less rewarding. And I think it's really interesting to manage to strike that even divide of being a detective game that is not going to hurt your brain to solve as much as something like even a Blueprints, which Blueprints is probably one of my favorite games this year, but definitely a lot of people felt a little bounced by how difficult that can be to put that game together and piece together what's trying to get you to figure out.
Yeah, and Eric, you've played a bit more than I have, so I'm going to toss it to you. Can you explain to the lovely viewers what is the Seance of Blake Manor? What's the premise of this thing?
It's a very Agatha Christie game, is what I would say. Is you are a detective that has been commissioned by an unknown party to go to this manor where Evelyn has disappeared. Evelyn Dean, I believe. And you show up. I cannot emphasize Agatha Christie enough. It is so in that vein, but it has a very comic book style to it, like a very dramatic, stylized style to it.
It reminds me of old pulp serials.
Yes,
The art direction, yeah.
It's got kind of like a cel-shaded look too, which seems pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very distinct art style, and it even does a lot of the kind of panel cut-ins and stuff like that for very dramatic moments that work super well. You arrive, and again, you don't know who has contracted you, but you do know that a lot of spiritualists, magicians, healers, sort of alternative medicine folks are all gathering in this one manor that has kind of been converted from a mansion to a hotel of sorts for a seance. There's going to be a seance where, rather than speaking to the dead through a medium or through a Ouija board or something like that, they're apparently just going to summon ghosts and talk directly to the ghosts. And that's a big deal. And so
this is like a regular thing that happens, apparently.
Yeah. This is a thing that is big in their world, and it's their E3. It's Ghost E3. and they
so
are
it
all
died
there
a couple years
for
ago,
it.
is what you're saying, and it's not coming. And then they're trying to bring it back.
They're bringing back the Ghost of E3. We should probably put out too. This takes place in, I think, like 1897. Ireland,
and that is actually very important
period
to the story. Yeah, they really lean into the history of Ireland, of that land, and kind of what happened to it as wars were waged and people took ownership of that land. Yeah.
It's like post potato famine, I think. Like,
yes,
there's like references of like, this wasn't that long ago, so we're like parts of the country are still very much recovering from that.
There's a character that you meet who's basically a druid who has some pretty strong thoughts about the way that people comport themselves on the land and all that. And it's really good in that sense. An incredibly well written game, but as you go through it, you basically are trying to figure out what happened to Evelyn, and in the process, it is heavily intimated that you might need to solve other people's mysteries too in order to protect them from imminent danger. There's some bad portents. You get the sense that maybe what happens at the end of this time allotment you have is not going to end well for everybody, and that you might want to try and figure out a way to convince them all, like, hey, this is like a bad idea. So you're doing that, but every action you take, most actions you take, eat a minute, and you have only a certain amount of time in the day. People will move throughout the manor and around the grounds at different parts of the day. It's, to use a very blunt comparison, it's very Majora's Mask in that way, where you have a certain set amount of time to do things, and you have to work within those bounds, and you can run out of time. Early on, there are a few deadlines the game gives you that say, hey, if you don't do X by this time, I'm gonna call you a fraud in front of it. I'm using like a fake example, but I'm gonna like allege that you are a fraud in front of everybody. It'll ruin your reputation in this manner and all that stuff like that, where there are time pressures, but I feel like it's also very lenient in that where the time is just meant to encourage you to be thoughtful and meaningful and intentional with what you do, and then also bake those moments where you have a little bit more freedom to say like, okay, now I want to go back and want to check on that thing where I couldn't check on it before because I was just rushing to get this one deadline done. It's a really, really interesting game. It's really tightly crafted, and I think it's deceptively interesting. I know that sounds like very strange to say, but it's like
start to parse that phrase. It's like
it seems like it seems like it's one thing on its face, and it goes a lot deeper than I expected it to with that. It does a lot more with the concept, because I think at first I was just expecting an Obra Dinn, and I was just expecting this to be, you walk around, you check things off of a box, you do logic puzzles. That's not to, say that Obra Dinn is a simple game either, but I expected this to just be, you show up, you solve the mystery, you take care of things. And there have been a lot of really good games in that genre, but I think what this game is doing that's a little bit different is it's just playing with the idea of things around you changing and you having to adapt to them. This sort of timeline that you have to stick to, that it's not just important that you do something, it's important when you do something. And that certain openings can occur when people are off doing things. So I had to start noting that, I want to talk to this person, but they're only going to be available to talk to between these hours. And so it actually becomes important in conversations to talk to people and be like, hey, what are your plans for this weekend? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like I found a
what's
schedule
your itinerary?
where it's like, like I found a schedule like, here's everyone that works here and their times, and like the main character's like, yeah, this is going to be really important. And you eventually get a map that just kind of shows you where everyone is in the manor at a certain time. Like you just kind of see their icon in different rooms. So you can kind of like visualize, okay, here's where they are now. They're going to go somewhere else at some point. So I need to work around kind of where everyone is currently. And the advancement of time would touch on, because it's not timed in the traditional sense. Like there isn't like a timer counting down. It's like every action you do spends a minute of time. So like the first mission kind of runs down where like you get to the manor and you have 1 hour to sort of like get like an initial sense of like where Evelyn is. And so you arrive at 11 p.m. You have until midnight before you have to check into your room. And so every time you inspect something, it spends 1 minute of time. So minutes are almost like limited actions. Like you technically have 60 actions that you can do before the game is going to force you to move forward, regardless sort of like of where you are at. So you can like interact with most everything. There's like a detective vision style thing that kind of highlights all the interactable objects in a room, but at the same time, not everything matters. Like you can look at like a lot of stuff and he'll comment on it, but it won't update like sort of like your web, or you have like a flow chart of information and like
it's a really good
an evidence board. And so you kind of, like Eric was saying, you could be really thoughtful, because you can very quickly get into the habit of like, I'm going to open and look at everything. And then you look at the clock and realize, I just looked at 30 things. So that means it's now 11:30. I have 30 actions left and I have not really gotten closer to the main goal here.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're on a path to an objective and you start talking to a character because you're like, I actually haven't talked to this character yet. I should like talk to them and start to get to know them. And then you realize, I've been in this conversation for like 20 minutes. And
because the conversation spends time too.
Yeah.
Like everything you ask them spends a minute.
Analyzing them too, which is very important. It gets you a lot of good conversation topics, and you do kind of the Sherlock Holmes thing of being like, okay, I see that his hands are shaking and he has a chipped eyepiece, and so I should probably ask about that to learn more about him and profile him. But in the process, like, analyzing does take a minute, and which is very funny to imagine someone just staring at you for a minute, just like slowly looking you over and being like, you shake a lot. I cannot imagine anything more. Yeah, I cannot imagine anything that would strike more anxiety into my heart. But that's what I think I mean by deceptively interesting, which is a very bad way to phrase it. It's more that it's a lot deeper than it appears at first, and also it's a lot more interested in the way you do things. There's something I don't want to spoil that happens early on where you have to make a choice just about how you kind of enter and leave an area, and it can affect the way that characters act around you when you do it. And it's a really, really cool moment of the game telegraphing to you, hey, it doesn't just matter that you go and kind of do the collectathon, go pick up all the evidence pieces. I think I dislike when mystery games do that, where it feels like you're taking what is potentially the really interesting part of solving a mystery and turning it into like a rare Nintendo 64 game where it's like, just pick up everything that's on the ground, just get everything that's on the ground and you'll be fine. It's like, no, I think there's the intentionality, the constraints, the time limits, the feeling that you can fail is important to a lot of these games and really helps drive them forward in an interesting way. And so having those moments of the game noticing that you did something and responding in kind, or saying, okay, you need to talk to somebody, right? Like right now in where I'm at in the game, I have the thing that I need to solve a certain trunk, like a certain character's predicament, but I don't know where they are. And I don't have them on my itinerary. I don't know like where they're supposed to be. And the manor's pretty big. It's a pretty large manor. And I'm running around it and I'm seeing stuff. Like I'm seeing characters that I was not able to talk to prior. I'm seeing people that I'm like, oh, I should go say something to them. I have something for them. But I can't burn minutes on it right now. And so I need to play that game in my head of, do I want to spend time on this? Do I think it's safe for me to spend time on this? Will this other character's story advance further and start to create problems for me that I didn't expect would come up? And I think that's the really, really interesting part of this game. It reminds me, it's a closed show now, but there was a production in New York called Sleep No More that was a live action stage play that took place in a building. And you would go in,
right. I've heard about this,
and everybody, they act out the play across all these different floors and sets and stuff like that. And the audience wears these like crazy like plague doctor masks, and you are explicitly, you don't talk, you don't speak, you don't discuss things with each other. You walk and you don't touch anything, but you just observe as everything happens around you, and you can go where you want, and different things are happening in different places the entire time. It's kind of like a video game in a weird way, but it's in a stage played setting, and you basically get to just walk where you want to and see this play out, and it loops several times. And so when I went, and I was like really glad I got the chance to do this, you end up just finding characters and being like, I'm really interested in what this character is doing. And so you have moments where that character has a really dramatic interaction with another character, and they both storm off, and you have a split-second moment where you're like, do I stay here or do I chase after them? And it leads to a lot of really cool emotions where you have to make that gut reaction, because if you don't react, they're going to run away and you just lost the thread. But maybe you want to stay here with this new character. This game hits a lot of those points. This game like gets that right in a lot of ways, and in ways that I don't always see video games manage to accomplish, even though the concept I'm describing is very video gamey in its design. And I find that really, really fascinating. And also, this is like a good scary game. I've been jump scared several times.
I think that's something to point out. Like, this is a great Halloween game because it's got not only just like a spooky atmosphere, like you're in this creepy, strange manor and you're dealing with like, spiritualism and stuff, but there are like legit scares in here. Like there's things that happen where like freaky things start happening as you're doing investigations where you're kind of like, it can put you on edge a little bit. And I like that about it. It's weird because like Eric and I were talking about this game and saying how it's like a weirdly cozy experience for us because like, we like these kind of games. Like Root Trees Are Dead is in my top 10 for the year. Like I love these kind of games, and they are like a weirdly kind of like comfort food for me of just sitting in front of the computer like late at night, maybe like raining outside with like a nice cup of coffee and just feeling like a detective for a few hours. Like, got all my clues here. I'm gonna go talk to this weird guy and look him up and down and see what's going on with him, and then putting two and two together. But now you have the kind of the added thing of like, oh, there's like I think I just saw like a weird, like an apparition out of nowhere, and I don't know what to make of that.
I saw something in the corner of my vision, and I don't know what it was, but when I turned to look at it, it disappeared. Like, there's a lot of that in this, and I think it plays its hand very well with that too, where I never felt there was only one time where I like jumped and just like had a reaction. Every other time it's been, oh, this is just, spine tingling, it's bone chilling, but it's not like,
It's more mood.
Yeah, it's not Five Nights at Freddy's where you're just going to get jump scared.
Yeah.
I really like that about it. And yeah, to your point, this is cozy because there's something about seeing the sort of logic of it all. And I think the game, I think Seance at Blake Manor and the team behind it really understood there's a very cozy logic to this where you learn something. Like, again, I'll use a fake example, like the killer wore a gold watch, and so you can say like, okay, well, who has a gold watch and who doesn't have a gold watch, and you can start to be like, okay, that you start playing the guess who game of okay, well, he's bald but he had a curly mustache and all that. And there is like a very cozy logic to that I think, especially for people, who want something just a little bit more relaxing to sit back, it is like a little logic puzzle, and those are very relaxing to me, at least. So
yeah, well, yeah, I'm excited to play more of it. I've not looked up like how long it is or whatever. I'm curious, but I also kind of don't want to know. But I'm trying to squeeze it in the midst of all the like 1900 games that we're trying to cram through for Game of the Year right now.
I have a sneaking suspicion about this game that I don't know if I should voice, so maybe I won't. But I do have the sense that maybe this is not necessarily a game that wants you to replay it, but a game that wants you to go back with information, if that makes sense. Sure. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of games like 999 and Zero, like the Zeroscape series in that way. Yeah. And hey, that's also scratching an itch for me. So
oh yeah. Well, the Seance of Blake Manor, everyone, it's available now on PC only. But check it out. It seems like a great option to play during this the scariest time of year. And speaking of scary things, guys, we love us some horror games over here, at least with this panel, am I right? We love being scared, playing video games, and I want to talk about some of our favorite horror games of all time. And I kind of want to start with, this might be like a two-pronged question, but you might have the same answer for both. But sort of like, what was the first horror game that you each remember playing, and what was the first time you remember like being visibly, or like maybe not visibly, like actively scared in a video game, if it's different than the first horror game that you played? Because for me, like the first of what I would consider playing like a true horror game to my memory would have been the original Resident Evil. I remember playing that at a friend's house because he had it, and I'll never forget inviting me over and asking me like, hey, have you heard of Resident Evil? And that's what he sounded like as a fifth grader, just like he had smoked a pack of cigarettes. And I was like, no, what is this? And we played like the first, like probably like in hindsight, like the middle of the game, like maybe the early middle, he just loaded up a save that he was, in progress going through. And I saw like the dogs section, like the dogs jumping through the windows, really famous section, and like freaking out. And I remember being like scared out of my mind, but it was like that awkward thing where you don't want to be scared in front of your friends. So you're trying to keep it cool, like next to him. But in my mind, like, I've never seen anything like this. What? And it's like half of me wants to like turn the game off and be like, this is too much. But then the other half of me is like, oh, there's something cool about this. I think it's like having an awakening of like, I think I like this. And then eventually borrowing it from him. And that's how I played the first Resident Evil for the first time. But the first time I can remember being actively scared in a game. I don't know if this would be considered a horror game in the way that the movie that this game is based on, whether or not it's considered a horror movie. But I played the Jurassic Park game for Sega Genesis. I think it's just called Jurassic
Valid.
Park.
Very valid. Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay. I'm glad you guys are in agreement here, because I was like, do I sound silly saying that this game scared me? Because I remember playing it.
No, it's super scary. Well, okay, maybe not super scary, but yes, definitely a scare, like definitely a creepy game for sure. I mean, Jurassic Park is a horror movie, I mean, we kind of almost don't think of it that way anymore, but
I still don't know if I could see it, but I always think of it of like an action adventure movie that is scary at times.
I think of Jurassic Park as this might sound really crazy. It's like a young adults, not maybe kids, but like I think of it in that sense where I feel like all of us watched Jurassic Park at an age before it was theoretically intended for us to watch Jurassic Park. But I also feel like that's the age when you probably should watch Jurassic Park is about 10 to 12 is where most people saw that movie. And it was like, oh, there's dinosaurs everywhere and stuff like that. But it's also, I don't know, loses some of its luster when you're older. It's not quite as creepy and scary. The velociraptors aren't. Well, it probably would be nowadays.
I mean, there's a lot of scary scenes in them. I mean, you guys, it's just so we're like, I mean, because I guess I have the perspective of a child, right? And that was like her. No, I know, but I'm saying as a parent, like I showed it to her, like as a, hey, this is your introduction to scary movies, you know? And there's like a lot of scary sequences in that movie. I mean, I think I would call Jurassic Park horror. It's like, it's like a slasher, but with dinosaurs, you know?
I think it's weird because modern Jurassic Park feels very just generic action movie where it's like, oh, the dinosaurs are going to battle each other. I almost called it a battle anime, which is like maybe not too far off. But the Indoraptor is Vegeta or whatever. But I think original Jurassic Park is a really good first thriller, first scary movie.
Thriller
I
horror,
could see that.
right?
Listen,
kind of on that line, sort of,
I had a phase where I had nightmares about velociraptors the first time I saw Jurassic Park. Like I had the same nightmare of a raptor being in my house and finding me hiding under the covers of my bed and like killing me with his big hook, his hook foot or whatever. But that was all to say that the intro to the Sega Genesis Jurassic Park game scared me. But I don't know if you remember how
it shows the gate, right? And it's like raining. I think, No, I played that kind of recently because what was it? Limited Run like re-released them, like the whole Jurassic Park bundle.
Yeah, that's right.
And I sat down and played because I have a lot of good memories of those, and I played through them. And then I was again playing. I was playing with my daughter, and I gave her the controller to play as Alan Grant, you know, in the Jurassic Park Genesis game. And I had told her at the time, I was like, if you beat this tonight, I'll give you $50. Because that game is like impossible. She was not able to do it, unfortunately, but she got further than I expected. Were
you sweating a little bit of like, oh crap?
No, I would if she beat it, I'll totally give that up, man. Are you kidding me? But it was just funny to like, I was like, I just want to see if you can do it, and I want to give you a little incentive, you know.
This is the start of an esports prestige film,
But that game's creepy. You know what I was thinking? I was like, because my answer, Marcus, is Resident Evil 2, right? That was the first one I sat down and played through. I played the N64 version. But in terms of like being creeped out by a video game, I think my first examples would probably have to be Myst and the PC adaptation of Rendezvous with Rama. Which I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but it's like an Arthur C. Clarke book about an alien ship just showing up near Earth. And in the novel, they just send a bunch of astronauts to explore it. And the book is just about like, they don't know what this thing is. They just enter it. It's a very cool book. I read it kind of recently for the first time through. But there was like a PC point and click game for that, which is is a different era. But it's a creepy idea of just like entering just this empty alien ship that just happens to be kind of like going by Earth, you know? So that's my first memories of being like creeped out by a game. But yeah, Resident Evil 2 was the one I played through and beat, and the liquor jumping through the two-way mirror in the interrogation. My brother always describes it. He was like in another room, and he just heard me kind of playing, and the footsteps of Resident Evil, and then he heard a crash, and I just went like, ah! And then I just like heard like gunshots, and then I was like, oh, scared the crap out of me. And he just like heard that from the other room, just like, ah!
Yeah. You know what I'm disappointed in? So currently, if you're watching our super replay of Resident Evil Outbreak, we had our first encounter with a liquor not too long ago, and they teased a window break that I felt was like, oh, because it's Resident Evil, you have to have something jump through a window at a certain point. Because you see a liquor crawl outside the window, like they have a nice shot where you're inside this hotel, and it's a shot of like just it's panned out enough where you can see the liquor crawl down the window that you're in front of, and you're like, uh-oh, this is coming. And then it just appears in the hallway, just on a wall. and I was like, oh, you could have. I thought we were gonna get something there, but okay. What about you, Eric?
I was going to say, it's funny you mention the older PC point and clicks, because my earliest experience with horror was The Seventh Guest. My mom actually really loved that game.
Yeah.
And so my dad would play Quake and Command and Conquer and stuff like that. My mom would play The Seventh Guest on our PC. And that game, I wouldn't say was really scary, but was definitely moody. Was definitely like there was creepy. A vibe to the Manor. Yeah. And I remember all the puzzles just being darn near impossible for my very small brain.
Yeah. That was when I played at like not a friend's house, but a parent's friend's house. You know what I mean? Where like there were no other kids there, so they're like, "Hey, why don't you send your kids off into our little computer room and they can play Seventh Guest?" And I remember being really enamored by it.
Wholesome kids game.
Yeah. I played the VR adaptation a little bit recently, which was cool. Which is like I'm glad it exists, but it wasn't one that I played for more than like 30 minutes or so.
I can't imagine
they remade the FMV for VR. Where they
it's like a full. It is a full remake. They did all the FMVs. They got new actors in and stuff. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool project. You know.
FMV is back in vogue, and it's kind of awesome, honestly. Like people are doing it. Obviously, Sam Barlow's been doing a lot of stuff. I imagine we'll be talking about Sam Barlow's work in just a little bit here, but like FMV games broadly are like back, and it's really fun to see what's being made in that space. But I think for my first scare, this is going to be really weird. So obviously, everyone here has played Super Mario 64, correct?
Yes. I know what you're gonna say. Yeah,
there's a specific noise that happens if you try to jump into a painting or a door that you're not supposed to be able to get into yet, where Bowser kicks you back out and he goes ha 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 ha. And when I was a tiny kid, scared the bejesus out of me. Like there was something haunting about that echoey laugh that just infiltrated my nightmares, could not get it out of my head. That was bad. So I
thought you were going to say the piano.
Oh, I could see the piano. See, I didn't really play much.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't a Mario 64 guy. Like my brother played a little bit more. My dad played a lot more. I've never been a platformer guy. I don't know why. It just never worked for me. But maybe it was that. Maybe Bowser just bounced me out of the genre forever with that laugh.
Kyle, was there ever a point where you thought Majora's Mask was the scariest thing ever? Because doing that super replay with you and having that be my first like ever playthrough of the original version of that game, there was so much just imagery in there where I'm like, if I was a kid in 2000, this would have terrified me, some of the things I'm seeing in this game.
Hold on a second. Sorry, Marcus, I just had to sneeze. Majora's Mask creeped me out for sure, because it's like tonally just like overall a dark game, you know? But if I'm thinking of Zelda, it's actually the graveyard dungeon from Ocarina of Time. I don't know if you remember, with the big boss like hitting the bongos and stuff, like where you actually fight the boss. Like
bongo, yeah.
That was scarier individually to me because the rest of the game is kind of light around that one sequence. But Majora's Mask overall is just like the beginning of that game with the Happy Mask Salesman being so creepy and like it's so dreamlike in the beginning. Yeah, there's definitely like, it's just creepy. But like Ocarina of Time had moments that really like singular moments that scared me, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I guess going off the sort of the thread of not horror games that wind up being scary, like the original Metal Gear Solid, the Psycho Mantis fight creeped me out as a kid. It's weird to think back to a time when you didn't know that he would do the things that he would do because it's become so well known now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people play it now for the first time, kind of maybe going in knowing that that's going to happen just because of cultural osmosis. But as a kid that got it pretty much at launch and just no idea, never seen anything like that. And again, like reading the memory card, doing weird stuff with the controller, like it feels like
I'm jealous, frankly, because I knew about it going in. So I wish I'd had that experience. Yeah. Did he read your memory card? Did you have anything on there?
I had Symphony of the Night.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Yeah.
So it was like, it feels like your system's like possessed, like genuinely, when you don't know what's happening and you're also a child. Like,
I can't even imagine. Like I said, I'm jealous. I wish I had played that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised I didn't just like chuck my controller at the screen. Like I think I was scared, but I had enough sense to be like, I think this is supposed to happen, even though I've never seen anything like this ever in anything. But I'm sure this is intended. because I could easily. There has to be stories of someone that legit like chucked their PlayStation out the window.
I mean, that's kind of how I felt about the end of Metal Gear Solid 2. Like truly,
yeah, same thing.
Where I was kind of like, this almost feels like something is like outside of the video game here. If like I really gave myself over to the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 the first time I played it, and it freaked me out in a way that I was like, this is incredible.
The line where, we won't spoil it, but when a certain character starts, like his portrait comes at like a skull, and there's a line where he says like, seriously, don't you think you've been playing a little too long or something like that? Like he breaks the fourth wall, starts addressing the player directly. Like, hey,
and like I had been playing like 3 hours straight at that point. Like it really, like it was like I was like the perfect, like Kojima imagining that whole sequence was like I was the perfect player in that moment. Yeah.
I would say like favorite horror games of all time for me. I mean, it's shifted of course over the years, but kind of one that sticks out, and I know it's not technically a game, but I would almost go to bat and fight on that. In terms of like sheer scares, PT is still my number one.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms of just like the scariest thing I've ever played. Because it's the only game, as much as I love horror games, and I've played a lot of horror games, but I've never, and even in horror movies too, PT is the only like piece of horror media that has ever made me scream out loud. Like ever.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that kind of person that like sort of reacts that way. Like it's all internalized. And I remember playing the PT demo the day it dropped, and it was broad daylight outside too, which makes
and
it
you didn't
more
know
impressive.
what it was yet, right?
No, this is when people still didn't know what it was.
That's cool.
Like I just picked up on like the buzz of like there's this weird thing that just dropped and we don't know what it is. So I just downloaded it. And because it was during a Gamescom, if I remember correctly, that it dropped. So I was paying attention to Gamescom news and saw that.
Was it connected to Kojima? He announced it, right? I don't remember.
I don't think it was. So I can't remember if he was known from the beginning or if it came out a few hours later that it was him.
Maybe it came out a little later, if I remember correctly. But it was definitely something.
Once people started beating it, I think.
I remember like hours later that day, like the sort of Twitch kind of being like, wait, hold on a second, and like seeing like the first couple people that got through it and seeing what it was. That was cool, man. That was like a cool time. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I played it, no one had beaten it yet. And again, not having no idea what this is and not knowing what you're getting into, just completely unprepared. And that's still like my gold standard maybe for like atmosphere. Like I still don't know if I've been in an environment in video games that has felt that oppressive, where it's like the moment you step into that hallway and it's just like, nope, don't want to be here. Nope. Like everything, like all of my fight or flight is like kicking in a way that I can't recall ever feeling so intense. And again, not knowing what it is, and then the looping and all the like, just how masterfully things escalate.
In the sink.
Yeah, the fetus in the sink. But I mean, the thing that got me to scream out loud was the Lisa scare when she kills you.
Yeah.
Because it's like everything at that point had been so subtle and so subtle and so subtle. And it would tease like a big jump scare, but not do it. And that was like the first like in your face like jump scare. So they had primed you for it for a while. And then it happened so unexpectedly. And then it had a little bit of like, before people started kind of figuring out the gears behind the demo, it had a bit of like mystery to it. It seemed like it didn't happen at the same time for everyone. So once it started people hearing about it, then people would play kind of scared, not knowing when it was going to happen.
Yeah, it was inconsistent. I mean, I imagine people know exactly how to get through PT today. But I remember in that first day, even the second day, it was like people weren't really sure what they had done to see the ending, which was cool and creepy, separately, like even just the sort of community aspect of it, right? Yeah.
There's something about that where it's that almost the closest thing we have to a found footage game where like when Blair Witch Project came out, it was this whole thing about people being like, was that real? Did that really happen? Like, did that really happen to real people?
That was me as a kid. I thought it was 100% real.
Yeah. And like that is part, or like Paranormal Activity was the same way. It's like, this seems a little too realistic. This seems a little too normal. And so it's that feeling, but then also using the interactive element to introduce that element of, am I doing something that's affecting this? Or is this set in stone, or can I change it? And that suddenly adds a new layer, because all of a sudden you're like, I just did something It could be good. It could be really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's still like I still hold PT in like incredibly high regard for horror experiences, and I will always, anytime you do like a best horror game ranking, I will always fight to put it on there, even though some people be like, well, it's not a game. And I'm like, it's got a beginning, middle, and an end. It's a game.
Yeah, it's got a beginning, middle, and a tease.
Well, it was the end for that.
That's true.
Project.
Yeah. We'll see what OD looks like, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, that's why I'm so excited for OD. Just because it's like, okay, we've seen, and like I said, Kojima is really good at like unintentional horror with Metal Gear. There's so many instances, like, you know, once we even touched it, of like Metal Gear being like weirdly scary. So like seeing him
like just the first hour of Phantom Pain is like creepy as hell, where you're like swinging your way through the hospital and stuff. Yeah, Death Stranding
has so many jump scares in it.
Yeah, like he has a mind for horror. I was like, I don't even know if he knew it until he started doing, you know, Silent Hills, which is what PT was gonna be. So again, it's like, okay, you don't even, you can scare me when you're technically not trying to, or at least not. It's like the Dragon Ball thing of like, you've only seen 5% of my power.
Yeah, right.
So seeing him go like, no, I'm gonna try now and freak you out is exciting, and also it makes me nervous.
Yeah, it's not to sidetrack an OD too much, but I remember I think it was your story that you wrote for the site, Marcus, or maybe I think it was you. Maybe. But there's like Kojima released a quote, or he said something of like, knocking is scary. Like the act of knocking is scary, right? Or something like that. And I remember kind of thinking like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what do you mean? And then I watched that trailer and I was like, God, that is creepy. Just that knocking. Like, it's like, this is effective. You know, maybe he knows what he's talking about.
If you were to knock and you didn't know where that was coming from, that would be scary.
Yeah, knock of an unknown origin, for sure. Yeah. Even known origin is freaky. If somebody knocked on my front door right now, I would not feel normal about it.
No.
I was really tempted to like knock the underside of my desk when I did that.
Like, I would have been picked up.
Yeah.
I got one I want to talk about that there's like, because to me there's like scary games and then there's like horror. There's like horror games that I love that aren't super scary to me, which is, it's funny. I really like horror games a lot, but I'm not a big horror film guy. I don't really like the genre. I mean, I have horror films I like, but it's not a genre I seek out. But horror games, I think it's having the control or something that really like makes a difference for me. But still, one of my favorite horror games is Dead Space 2. I freaking love Dead Space 2. I like the whole franchise. I like parts of 3 even. But and the remake of 1 recently was good. But 2 is my favorite just because my favorite, you know, I just said I don't really seek out horror generally, but I do like sci-fi horror. Like I'm always there for the new Alien stuff. I like when stuff goes wrong in space. And Dead Space 2, I think, is like the best version of that, and it's just this fantastic like Resident Evil 4 inspired shooter that's just this really compelling like horror story. Like I love the ending of that game. I don't know if you guys remember the ending, but the ending is so cool and really plays with your expectations. And there's like the sequences where you have to space jump between stations, and like it is a game that kind of did the one shot like camera follows you the whole time with no cuts, like before God of War did it, frankly, which I think just works really well for a horror game in space, and being stuck with Isaac as he like goes through this whole sequence. And like, yeah, it's like it might be my favorite horror game, even if I don't think it's the scariest horror game. I just like, I played through that game like twice, 2 or 3 times in a row when it came out. It totally like hooked me in a huge way. And Dead Space 2, like I would put it in my top 3 like favorite horror games probably. I don't know how you guys feel about the franchise.
I think it's the best Dead Space. I love Dead Space. I think 1 is great, but I think 2 is the pinnacle. And I know everyone talks about like the eyeball scene as like one of the kind of like standout scenes in that game, and rightfully so. It's a rough scene to get through. But I think that the nursery or the school, whatever it is, that segment, like genuinely, I still think one of the most disturbing kind of like sequences in any game, because like you're fighting like these necromorph kids, and when you kill them they just scream and they just sound like normal kids. Like they don't sound like
Yes.
They don't sound like monstrous. They just sound like children dying. And it's like this really haunting reminder of what they used to be. Yeah. And I remember the first time, and I have a really, really thick skin with horror media. But even that, like the first time I remember killing one of them, I like stuff like, oh my God, like
you're gonna make me do this?
Did not expect to hear that when I killed this little baby monster thing. And I actually knew a guy in college who he could not get through it because he was a father, and he said I couldn't do it. He's like, I've never beaten Dead Space 2.
That happens to you, man.
That.
I wonder if I could go back to it. Like, there's movies now, like I can't watch Trainspotting anymore, after becoming a dad and stuff like that. But I wonder if that would affect me differently nowadays. But yeah, it's funny that that game's not really jump scare heavy to my memory, but in the nursery there is one jump scare where like this like sun just like falls down. It's like a stage prop that just like comes down and like scares you. It's like that's like the big jump scare in the game. It's funny.
It's the cat in Alien where suddenly the cat just jumps out of nowhere and you're like, oh, and it's not the scary thing, but it is enough to kind of take you out of your kind of lull there. No, I love Dead Space as a series. Dead Space 1 and 2. We used to play them in college. We would literally just, it'd be a Saturday morning, like after we'd hung out the night before, we'd be like, oh, what do you want to do today? Who wants to play Dead Space? And we'd loop runs of that game. And so Dead Space 1 and 2.
Wouldn't play the multiplayer in Dead Space 2? That wasn't a destination for you guys.
And the Dead Space remake, I think, gave me like a new appreciation for the craft that went into it, because you mentioned all of the different stuff that goes into just focusing on that one shot, but also I think having the health on the spinal column and having the ammo indicator and all that, basically it doesn't just mean that there's no UI, so there's a thinner veil between you and the action that's happening on screen, but also it keeps your eyes like focused on the center of the screen, like almost as effectively as a crosshair, and you're constantly looking there, which means that things happening in the periphery can kind of unnerve you and unsettle you, and you have that moment where you're like, I just see something move on the wall or something like that, and it just works so well for that game. I love the Dead Space games, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Fingers crossed we get that remake of 2.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it, but
I think 2. I mean, I to be fair, I haven't played 2 in a while, but I think it probably still holds up. I played through Dead Space 1 with MinMax for a deepest dive, like, I don't know, a year or something before the remake came out. And I was like, this is still good. Like, this holds up well, So, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't really need a remake of 2, but if you guys gave it to me, I would play the hell out of it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex? Look at, like, we're talking about our favorites, right? Like, what's you got like a...
I got Alexed by Kyle. You'd love to see it.
I wasn't going to call him out.
No, it's fun to do that.
Just keep this moving, man. Just keep this moving.
Yeah. So Immortality, if we want to talk about FMV games, I think Immortality is one that's got to be in the conversation for best horror games, because I think that's one that uses game mechanics in a way that I didn't expect it to. It's one of Sam Barlow and Half Mermaid's games that's about, you have a film archive of this actress named Marissa Marcel, who has made 3 movies over the past several decades and then disappeared, and no one's heard from her since. And you are scanning through the archives trying to figure out what has happened. Ostensibly, you're trying to build a film archive, a collection of her lost works that have been difficult to find over time anyways, but you're also kind of encouraged to solve the mystery as you do and figure out what happened. And it would feel like giving away the game to tell you much more than that, but there is, I think it is that perfect marriage of, digging too deep where you ought not to have, and looking further and further into things. And it does this very clever thing. The whole mechanic that kind of pins the thing together is it's a film archive, but the way they have for you to go through it is you match cut. So you have a little crosshair and you can freeze frame and say, I want to match cut this. I want to match cut this apple, or I want to match cut this person's face. And it zooms in and then zooms back out to a different scene. And it could be in the same movie. It could be in a different movie. It could be in behind the scenes footage. It could be in sort of like location scouting type stuff, or even just maybe somebody with their, little handheld camera behind, with the cast and all that. There's all kinds of different places it goes. And it is a horror game. It is very much a scary game, and maybe has one of the most frightening things I've ever seen in a video game ever. Like the scene that still gives me chills.
I might know what you're talking about, but yeah, it feels like
there's multiple ones, but there's one that
yeah. Again, without spoiling, because it's kind of a spoiler to even explain why the game is scary. But it's the closest comparison is sort of like if you watched enough sort of like haunted house or possession or like ghost hunting kind of movies. Like there's usually a scene where like the people investigating the occurrence will like record something like, okay, we're going to record or take pictures of this house. And then there's always a scene where they're going through their footage and they see something that they did not see while they were there, like physically in the house, but something shows up in the film that is like really unnerving. It's kind of like that. Like as you're scrubbing through footage, you just see things. You're like, what is that all? What is happening there?
Like, wait a minute, what's that? What is that? And you start investigating. And it's the idea of you have to match cut it. It's funny. Someone I think compared it to Time Crisis and said it's kind of like that, where if Time Crisis was a horror game, and I was like, that's interesting.
House of the Dead?
yeah. but like that's an interesting thought, that the idea of you have to intentionally pull the metaphorical trigger to go from one place to another. And another one of my games that we'll probably talk about when it wheels back around to me, the idea of people walked where they ought to have crawled, they dug where they ought not to have. It's that sense of, oh, I shouldn't be here. This is not for me. If I was a normal person doing this, I would walk away. And honestly, it does give you that feeling of, even as a player in the removed sense, being like, I don't know if I should be looking into this. And it gets very, very good. I highly recommend it, especially if you have a group. I think a lot of horror games, the likes of Until Dawn and things like that, lend themselves well to one person driving, but a lot of people engaging in the activity with you. Not only does that make it, less scary in some ways, but there's something fun about everybody participating in the activity. And Immortality is one where I actually played it with a friend, and we were sitting there and just looking through stuff, and they'd be like, oh, look at that, like, oh, what's that? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know, should we look at it? And there's really something engaging about that. So if you have someone in your life that you've wanted to kind of have a scary game with, and maybe they don't want to drive but they want to experience it, Immortality is a pretty good one for that.
Yeah. Kind of in a similar vein, I guess, for my next game. It's also a little hard to talk about, but Doki Doki Literature Club is a game that I really, really like, and I really, really enjoy. And it's a tough game to recommend because it's very much a spoiler to sort of get into what makes it scary. Because if you just look at the Steam page, it sort of, the presentation is like, oh, it's an anime visual novel with like pretty girls, like a dating sim. There's like 1 million of those on Steam. Why should I care about this one? And it's something where I've had to explain to friends of like, I know what it looks like. I know it doesn't look like your thing. Trust me. It's like you have to kind of commit to like play the first like 45 minutes, hour of it, and like stick with it. You'll like, sort of the only clue that you get when you boot it up that something is amiss is that there is a content warning in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's weird. And you almost forget about it when you keep playing it, because it's like it plays it straight for a good while, like long enough to kind of lull you into a false sense of security, to where you're like, oh, this is about what I would expect from this. And then things start to go off the rails in ways that, like, it's creepy because it's very kind of fourth wall breaking, like it's very meta.
Yeah.
And it's like if you were the person that, when we were talking about sort of the ways Metal Gear Solid 2 sort of breaks the fourth wall and kind of is aware that it is a game being played, that is kind of the core of Doki Doki Literature Club. And I'm almost hesitating to kind of go much deeper than that, but it's sort of like a game that knows what it's trying to be and kind of knows what you expect out of it, and sort of takes what you think about it and flips it on its head in a lot of very surprising and like really well done ways. And also in like really, really like unsettling ways.
It's a really fascinating game because I do think it kicked up a lot of discussion around, because it is, I mean, ultimately a game that wants to catch you off guard on your expectations, but when the way it catches you off guard is in a lot of ways that could be very affecting for some people. It actually kicked up a lot of really good conversations, I think, about content warnings in this sort of circumstance, which are probably good for us to have, because I think for a lot of these games, they do come with some level of opt-in content warnings, and that was stemming out of a lot of discussions that happened around this. And it can sometimes be like, okay, well, if I go in knowing that it's going to happen, and, you know, is that going to ruin the experience for me? But also, I feel like now you see something like Doki Doki, because there have been many imitators, many spiritual successors to Doki Doki, and even Doki Doki, arguably not the first to do this. There was I can't remember the name of it. There's a visual novel that did something very similar before it. And I think now if we see something that's a little too saccharine, a little too like everything's hunky dory in Happyville, it's like, okay, there you're gonna do something at some point. Yeah. It's the Simpsons bit where he's like, oh, I don't want to go yet. That guy hasn't done anything yet. And then, when you're not looking, oh.
It's one of my favorite Simpsons bits, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good one. But I think Doki Doki is really fascinating in that it didn't just become this obviously very interesting, very fascinating story of what you can do, even like what you can do with, I think it's all in Ren'Py, if I remember correct. So it's a really interesting story of what, you know, small devs, small cycles, small tools can still do and still affect on a larger scale. But also, yeah, it kicked off a whole wave of stuff and a lot of cool conversations around it. So Doki Doki definitely like a very, very important horror game when we look at the landscape of the last 10 years.
Yeah, and unconventional. Like it's sort of a different way to do horror.
Kyle, how about you?
Oh, my turn again. It feels like almost I don't know, like an easy one to call out, an easy guess. But Silent Hill 2 was a huge one for me. I'm kind of like feeling I'm like referencing like older games here, but like, yeah, and the remake is good. I really like the remake a lot. There's a lot of stuff I like in it, but yeah, like that first playthrough of Silent Hill 2, especially after I'd played like Resident Evil and more action horror games that were like, this game's scary because it has a big monster in it, you know, and Silent Hill 2 does have monsters in it, but just tonally, just the mood of that game and the quietness of that game were just so affecting for me. And there's a sequence, I don't know, midway through the game where you're sort of making your way deeper and deeper and deeper underground, and you just keep going down. You're down like 7 or 8 levels, and you just keep going. And you're going down these like hugely long stairwells, and you come into this room that's just this like concrete room that has like grass on the ground, and there's graves, and there's one with your name on it that's open, and to progress forward you have to step into that grave. And I just remember like it was like this time like in like where I played a video game where I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I'm like so deep underground, I feel like I'm in hell right now, and you're just like, and now I have to like enter my own grave. And it was such a like perfect, effective moment of horror that wasn't anything jumping out at me or scaring me necessarily. It was just this cerebral kind of horror, and that's how a lot of the game is. Like it's broken up with these sequences of action, but like I don't really remember the action from the original Silent Hill 2 very well. I just remember these unsettling cutscenes and just the strange mood of the town and just moving through these like creepy places. It just was like incredibly effective, and there's a reason that like it was just sort of held as this classic, and continues to be held as a classic for so long. Yeah, Silent Hill 2, just like one of my favorite horror games. I love Silent Hill 2, and I like the remake too. The remake is different, but it's good and it's fun to play.
Oh yeah, have you played Silent Hill F yet, Kyle?
I've started it. I'm like 3 or 4 hours in. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Of all people, I've been most interested to get your take on that game.
Yeah, it is the one. It is my like, you know how we all have like those single player games that we're working our way through right now, if that makes sense. Like we have the one that I'm working on. It's Silent Hill F. That is when I go to play video games on my own time. That's what I'm booting up. But I am taking it slow, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Sure. Cool. Eric?
I want to shout out another more recent game in the survival horror genre that I think I've shouted out on this podcast before, but once is never enough. Signalis is a really excellent isometric survival horror game. Isometric, top down, and somewhere in between, where you are playing as an android that is going into a facility where something has gone very wrong, and you are looking for someone who means a lot to you. And it has a lot of that Silent Hill 2 vibe to it, I think, where it's very spacey. It's very strange. It is a sci-fi game, which, you know, is really interesting and makes it really different. And I think the world of Signalis that it builds around itself is really fascinating. But also just the gameplay of it just sticks with me. It's so straightforward, but there's so many little moments that mean so much, where I remember runs from one room to another where I only had a few inventory slots. I knew I'd have to pick something up on the way, so I could only bring so many bullets. And do I have a flare? Do I want to flare something? You know, do I want to take out one of these enemies that's going to come back at some point later, or can I leave it on the ground, or can I just dodge around it? Just constant tension. And I think that's one of the underrated aspects. We talk a lot about scares and even chills and thrills, but tension is such an important part of a good horror. And Signalis does it so well, where you are always just a little bit undergunned. You know, you don't have the perfect setup for what you need. You don't have a limitless inventory. You don't have all the tools that you wish you had. There's always something that is making you the underdog in every situation, even though you are this futuristic android that's supposed to be super powerful. It's like if 2B was in the middle of a horror game, and I really like that. I think it's a really cool mood that they establish, and then the art direction is just incredible. Like I struggled to think of many other games that look like Signalis. It has such an amazing art style that just you see it and you immediately recognize it. So yeah. I love that game.
That was one which I don't run into a lot. Another horror game I did it with was Lorelei, but where I started it up to just play like 10, 15 minutes of it. Well, let me see what this thing is. Let me take a look at this. And then it was like an hour passed, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not beating this. You know, like I don't have that often, but Signalis was a recent one where I was like, let me check this thing out. And I was like, well, I'm finishing this. I can't stop playing this. And it's great. It's a great game.
Yeah. Also, I'm glad you called Lorelei a horror game, because I kind of thought that
it's scary.
It is creepy. Yeah.
I remember I was on Blue Sky. Rebecca over at IGN was talking about like how she was like turned off by elements of it because it was like it seems like too scary, like monsters coming after you and stuff, you know. But it's like that's not actually what's happening when you play that game. Even the sequences where enemies quote unquote are coming after you are actually the game trying to be like, hey, we're going to give you a puzzle because you're clearly stuck right now, so we're going to chase you down and give you a puzzle. So yeah, don't get scared away by that game if you're playing it for a bit and it's like you start getting chased by things. It's like, no, it's all just creepy mood. It's not really gonna like, you know, kill you.
It's fine. You should let the monster catch you. It's totally chill.
It
Brought
might have
to you
a
by the
puzzle.
Monster Commission. Yeah.
They're just trying to keep you engaged when you're stuck. That's all.
Yeah.
If someone approaches you in the woods at night and you don't know who it is, let them come. They might have a puzzle for you.
They might have a funky puzzle. Yeah.
Wait, are we talking about Lorelei? Or are we talking about real life now? What's going on here?
What's the difference? I guess we'll start to wind down here. Just a few sort of like quick hits of some standouts for me that I've always kind of hold near and dear. One is the original Fear.
Yes.
It's one that doesn't get talked about a ton, but I love the first Fear. Like, and it scared the crap out of me at the time, which I always thought was impressive because it's like half of it's like a first-person shooter, which on its own isn't like terrifying. Like, you're like gunning down soldiers for like a good portion of the game, but then you get into these like psychological horror segments with Alma, the antagonist, who is this like weird, super powerful psychic girl where like the walls are bleeding and it's just messing with your head, and it's like genuinely unnerving. And I remember being so scared playing that game back in like, God, it was like 2007, if I remember correctly, when Fear came out. And I've always held out hope that we would get another one because I thought Fear 2 was solid. Fear 3, but
mean,
we lost.
Is that what you're talking
Oh
about?
yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, Fear 3. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know what you were talking
Yeah.
about. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And it sucks. We lost Monolith, the developer, earlier this year. Was shut down. So who knows? It's highly unlikely we'll see another Fear game ever again. But yeah, highly recommend people revisit that first Fear. I think it's a gem of the sort of PS3, Xbox 360 generation. I talked about PT earlier. I think like PT has spawned countless sort of like imitators. And I think probably the best one is a game called Visage that came out, what was that, 2019, 2020? Terrifying game. It's set in a spooky house. It's going for like the PT sort of like almost like photorealistic visuals. But it's like this really well rendered house. It's haunted. Like the way they do tension of like the subtle things are what scare you, where you're questioning like, is that just house noises or is there something else going on here? And you're kind of forced to go through a couple of different sort of like campaigns almost, trying to like the hardest thing about PT is trying to solve puzzles while actively being terrified because you don't know what is going to come around the corner and do something to you while you're inspecting things. And Visage is kind of that times 10. We streamed it a couple times. Probably one of the funniest streams we've ever done was having known scaredy cat Alex Stadnick play that game. And some really great laughs ensued there. I encourage people to find the archive of that on YouTubers sometime. But yeah, Visage is great. And in terms of Resident Evil, because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, it's one of my favorite just series in general. So it's like it's hard to call out one in particular because there's so many great ones, but I'm gonna go with Village strictly because of the dollhouse segment, which is the best part in the game. Like the castle is great, the Lady Dimitrescu stuff is great, but in terms of like the most scary thing in that game is the dollhouse. Yeah. And I remember being so surprised at how effective that section was, because it's basically like, oh, we're just gonna do Resident Evil 7 here, just in this one spot. We're gonna do some Resident Evil 7 stuff. Like you don't have any weapons. You got to sneak around this very creepy dollhouse. Fun fact about me, creepy doll stuff is like terrifying to me. Like that's like my like I don't know what you would call it, but like the thing that gets you in horror, like the tropes, creepy dolls and mannequins, are mine.
Clowns, yeah.
Yeah, like Chucky used to scare the hell out of me as a kid. So like being in this house full of these weird dolls and then being stalked by a thing I won't spoil, but it is absolutely horrifying when you see what it is.
Oh yeah.
So I'll shout out Village, which overall is a great game. But that to me is one of the best sort of like singular segments of any game in the last sort of like 5 years.
Yeah, I would say 2 remake and 4 are probably like my favorite ones to play, right? But like overall, over like larger 7, I think maybe the scariest overall, even if 8 has the scariest sequence,
Yes.
I want to shout out sort of as we're doing a couple rapid fire ones in here at the end of Inside and Limbo. I absolutely adore those games. Like Inside is like I've played through that game so many times now. It's hard for me to remember like how much it creeped me out the first time I played it, and like that little that girl that like is chasing you in the water and stuff like that. I love that game so much. Inside is probably in my top 5 favorite games of all time, and it's like it is horrifying unless you play it 8 times and then you're just kind of enjoying it for what it is.
I think if I'm going to popcorn a few, a recent one again, mouthwashing. I just wouldn't say anything about it. Just go play mouthwashing. Like go play it. I hope it hurts. It's that one's great. Until Dawn mentioned earlier. I think the original Until
great one
Dawn.
to play with
I haven't played the remake yet.
It's a perfect.
Such a good Halloween game.
It's a really fun one, and I think they actually added this with the remake to sit down and say everybody gets a character and they play that character. And that's actually a really fun way to play through that whole game. But it's also just, if you love more of the slasher side, the campy horror side of things, absolutely a great one to play. And then the last one I'd popcorn is I tried to pick one from among this kind of oeuvre of games, and I'm going to pick Soma. I think Soma is absolutely fantastic. Maybe some of the best writing in games that I've seen. Just the story of it is absolutely incredible. And there is a mode where you can turn off the monsters, whether you don't like the scares or whether, like me, you don't like run and hide gameplay all that much. I'm just not a personal fan of it. It never feels very rewarding to me, which is why I wouldn't mention something like Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which also scared the bejesus out of me when I played it. But I wasn't always a fan of just hide behind crate until big stompy guy goes away and then go like do half the puzzle and then go hide again because it triggered and now he's coming back and all that. I'm just never a huge fan of that. But and Alien Isolation didn't get mentioned, but Alien Isolation is great. Also really, really scary and gets some really clever scares out of the alien and the way the alien moves. And I really like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope listening to this, you guys all have a very large list of horror game recommendations for you going into the spooky season, Halloween tonight at the time you're listening to this probably. Hope everyone has a great time out there. You guys doing trick-or-treating? I like to think you're never too old to do it. As long as you wear a mask or you look vaguely teenage-ish, you could
I think this might be. I think last year was my daughter's last time trick or treating. I think maybe, which makes me sad. But we'll see. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Just some quick housekeeping before we dip out of here. Of course, you can follow the three of us on social media. I am at Marcus Stewart 7 on Blue Sky. You can find Kyle at Kyle M. Hilliard and Eric Van Allen at C Moosey, correct?
C Moosey. Yeah.
You sure it's not Alex?
You're gonna this is my horror game. Is I show up
sorry
to work
about that, by the way, my bad.
No, it's incredibly funny when it happens. No, but that's my personal horror game. Is I show up and I've been Alex all along. I've been like living split lives this entire time.
Has it happened the other way? Has anyone called Alex Eric?
Yes, that has also happened.
Okay,
It's the van. To be clear, we all know it's the van.
Ways. Yeah, if it only happened one way, that would be not great, but it happens both ways, so I find that very funny.
Okay. Yeah. Well, make sure you. Yeah, let's do it. I guess you can go follow Alex too, since we brought him up. He's somewhere. But yes, be sure also to check out our Twitch channel and YouTube channel. We've got some ongoing series every Wednesday, streaming new games, usually with Eric and Alex, so you can't confuse them because they're both there together.
It's especially confusing. Yeah.
And of course, myself and Charles Hart, we have our ongoing Resident Evil Outbreak Super Replay. At the time you're listening to this, there's a chance we might have beaten the game because we are at the beginning of the final scenario. I've got a special costume prepared specifically for this episode because it's airing on Halloween that I'm excited to bust out. I think it's going to be indistinguishable from the character that I'm portraying as. You're going to be like, wow, it's like playing the game twice. It's like, how is he here and there at the same time? Who would have thought? But yes, fingers crossed. We'll see if we can put this to bed this week. But that's been a very fun series. Check out the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel for the VODs on that. And of course, you can also go once again to GameInformer.com/subscribe. Subscribe to the magazine. 10 issues a year, digital and physical. We got our upcoming launch of the next cover, which is Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, a very great story written by Wesley LeBlanc. Be sure to give that a read. And also, it's a great way to support us. And 5% of every magazine subscription goes to St. Jude Medical Research. So not only you're helping us, but you're helping a lot of very awesome kids that need it. So it's a great cause that we're very proud of to support. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys all have a fun and safe Halloween. I hope to see both of you alive and well Monday. I say, in case, creepy things happen on Halloween. We'll see, If someone approached you when you decided to embrace them, hoping that you would get a puzzle.
Yeah. I would. There should be people that just distribute puzzles. This is how my theory of why the world should just be Professor Layton. There should just be puzzle distribution happening at all times.
Bad, yeah.
I always thought the Riddler was a cautionary tale, but
But it was goals. Hashtag goals.
I realized recently that if I was going to turn into a Batman villain, it would not be the Joker. It would be the Riddler. I would absolutely go down that path. And the Riddler's kind of just Jigsaw when you think about it. So
yeah, pre-Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Jigsaw is basically the Riddler, is what you would say.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching, guys. We will see you next week on the Game Informer Show. Bye.